Hey! Hi guys, it's been a long time. There's been quite a few things going on, a bit of delays and this and that, but I thought I'd show you my new project I'm doing. I'm making some War Hounds. Yeah. After reading lots of fluff, the Horus Heresy Betrayal book, reading Betrayer itself, the novel. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but I'm quite near the end now. Only got about that much left to go now of the book. Loads of inspiration in that book if you're doing World Eaters. I was actually thinking to myself, I found these quite interesting, the World Eaters, because obviously it's only really been in these heresy books that we actually get any fluff about them. And I thought I'd start with something I've always enjoyed, which is Space Marines. And my previous project with the Inquisitorial Warband will be something I can just go to now and then, make a little figure whenever I feel like it. And the War Hounds would be something I would do more on a sort of squad basis, so I'd make a squad up of different types. But I had an idea of doing something a bit different, and that was looking at the Codex Chaos book, and looking at how the squads are set up. How you can have quite a lot of men in one squad if you add the extra onto them. So you can have like the equivalent of a tactical squad being 20 men as a troop squad, and like 10 men or more for the Raptors. And I started to get a bit of influence from the fluff of the World Eaters, where when it came to Istvan, and there was the Istvan 3, and Angron was sent. He sent down practically all his men to face off to wipe out the rest of his brothers on the planet there. Obviously, there were still some around who were still loyal to the Emperor, so not all of them, as you'd think, were all with him, if you like. And so I got to thinking, especially when I was starting to read how there were some characters in the Betrayal book where it has a little bit of leeway there in their fluff, just little underneath their description saying, their whereabouts are unknown. So I started to think, where could that go? Maybe there could be some survivors, perhaps. So I started to think about what I could do, play around with this idea. And I was reading that and some of this, Betrayal, which is an awesome book. I thought to myself, why don't I make some survivors who try to go and warn the Emperor like Garrow did, but instead they end up stuck in a warp, and then when they emerged, it was too late, and the loyalists were all pursuing the traitors into the Eye of Terror. And I thought I could use this as a bit of an excuse to be able to use Chaos miniatures, which are in the Dark Vengeance set which I got, as well as just use whatever miniatures I'd like to use. And my bit of fluff was that as these War Hounds, they renounced Angron and the World Eaters, the idea of them, their colour scheme and all that, and went back to being War Hounds again to prove their loyalty, still with the Emperor and all that. As they've been pursuing the traitors, the warp started to feed off of their anger as they've got closer to the Eye of Terror, and their dreadnoughts have started to warp. And first, because obviously some of them were still got the butcher's nails in their heads. Let's move these around because I'm just looking at some flat, non-moving things. Little shuffle, one shake. Oh, I hate that thing. And when they so that gives me an excuse for using the Chaos miniatures. and also their armour starts to mutate, so they then decide to, sod this, let's get out of here. And that then gives me an excuse of using the Chaos miniatures, but in a War Hounds colour scheme, and I'd sort of dubbed them the Emperor's War Hounds. So, to give them a bit more fluff of what they're doing in the 40k universe, they're kind of hunting down other traitors, would-be traitors, or sort of keeping on the lookout, and that sort of thing. Renegades, they'd get rid of them, and whenever they do defeat their these traitors, whilst being on the lookout for the World Eaters themselves, because obviously they're looking out for when they're going to come back through the warp to attack, they then take whatever sort of bits of armour which was still untainted by the use of renegades and all that, and replace their warp bits of armour. So what originally started out as something where I was just going to assemble these, which I got at Christmas, sort of straightforward, turned into this project. So as you can see, I've got some Mark III shoulder pads. I stuck to the idea of the World Eaters who used spikes and things on their armour to turn their armour into weapons. So I kept that on these Raptors. But I've done a lot of filing away and sanding away the detail of the lightning bolts on their armour. And obviously I replaced this, I'll go through them. So on this one I've replaced the tube, which had this kind of a fleshy sort of like wrapping coating around it. So I got rid of that. And what else have I done? I might actually zoom in a bit so you can see each one I'm talking about. And move them into camera one at a time. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I was going to leave the backpacks off, so it makes it easier to paint. The arms are separate on the art to carefully glue these, basically so I can paint the chests, which is also something else I did, which was I filed away a lot of the leering demons and that off of their armour, which kind of leaves a kind of a sort of battered, armoured look to them there. As you can sort of see, keep pointing, let's use my trusty triangular pointy file. So yeah, so it ends up looking like damaged armour. Yes, that's that. I've also I thought I'd get rid of these spikes off the shoes, which is something I didn't really like because the Raptors anyway. I mean, I know there's the idea visually that they use their spiky boots to stomp on heads, but then how do they walk around when they're not flying? They'd be like, unless you imagine that the things, the spikes rose up, but no, I decided to just cut them off and just leave them as studs, if you like, around the boots. So that's what I've done with all of those. I've also thought of making my own Mark IV armour as well, or shoulder pads I should say. I've used a sort of Dremel tool. I haven't actually got an actual Dremel itself, but I've got a rotary tool, and I've actually used, if I can get hold of it, this I can show you. What to zoom out again for this? Ooh, I've used a grinding tool, but in a engraver's electrical tool here, and some of them were thin enough to fit in here, and it allowed me to get in close. If I can show, whoa, with another bit, and not this, and carefully file that, or sand it away if you like, grind it away all around there. So that turns that into a, from Mark 7, like this, oops, yeah, from Mark 7 into a Mark 4, because all I've got is just that, and I'm pretty sure that's what they actually did when Ford made theirs anyway, really. So that saves you a few quid, on trying to get bits from eBay or Forge World themselves, just for, if you, one or two shoulder pads, but it's not really worth doing that. So yeah, I'll show this guy. What else have I done to him? Yeah, I got rid of that. I've got rid of also the eyes on here. Oops, sorry, I can't see that. The yeah, lightning bolt's gone. The eyes that were on here. Again, I've left some of the spikes on because that's what the World Eaters, you know, would have done. Kept their spikes on. They're now War Hounds, but they're still brutal guys, and some would still have their butcher's nails in their heads, which is also why I thought the more elitist guys who are, you know, World Eaters, and then they turn back to War Hounds, they would have been more affected by this warp feeding off their anger and mutating their armour. Excuse me. Which is why I kept these heads on them. Yeah, I might actually, on some of them, well, not that one. Well, some of these have got spikes, which are more like little horns, ridged horns. I might, I think this is one. Yeah. Oh, police car. So I might file it away and just turn it into a spike itself. Just stop for a second. Is that right? Okay, I didn't stop. We might notice there was this little thing I've got here, which I actually kept on it so I don't lose it. That's good, yeah. When I was looking through the War Hounds book, the Betrayal book, and it had a picture of War Hounds and another, you know, World Eaters on there. They had these little spikes, sort of pyramid-shaped spikes on their shoulder pads. So I thought I'd make my own out of strip styrene, using this type of file, triangular one. And if you're interested, I can actually show you how to do that. Might use a larger piece. And basically, I start off with a cuboid, if you like, square-ended rod, and I marked just by eye, just going across the pencil, squares going down the length, so a certain number or so, and then just use the edge of the file just to very slowly, each one after the other, take a long time, cutting in these little V-shaped grooves, which actually when I started to do this, I was thinking, make my own chainsaw blades. Could do. Anyway, I carried on, and then I started to make a kind of Toblerone effect. Actually, yeah, it's like a miniature Toblerone. You could just, if you wanted to make a miniature Toblerone, this is also another way to do it. I then very carefully made it triangular. Really, it's the best way to explain it, and just file the way down as much as I could to make it triangular. There might be a little bit of a straight edge just there on each side, but now that's done, I'll just have to carefully, without making them shoot off into oblivion, cut through them, chop them off, and I can just stick them on the shoulder pads, or, well, yeah, mostly shoulder pads is what I was thinking of, and that'll be that. Oh yeah, the other thing, of course, is I thought I'd take away the what's the name? Sort of more chaos icons. So the arrows, I've filed and mostly sanded them away. I've been using these types, those ones you got from Games Workshop, which I got a while ago. Mainly just so I could get free shipping, so like a few quid then. So I'm actually trying to get hold of another load of sandpaper if I can, or emery paper. Police cars. It's like being in New York. Yeah, the very fine stuff, because it's actually helps you polish up the what you sanded. This is the finest one. I don't know what kind of sandpaper or emery paper or whatever you like to call it would be. If you guys know, it'd be cool if you let me know. Yeah.